Loving this tan I got from the beach yesterday. I wanted to stay out in the sun longer, but I was going to visit my family. So I am coming to you guys today with this video on the Myers-Briggs. I think it's funny, yo. It's funny. This is the Myers-Briggs personality test, right? Myers-Briggs type indicator, MBTI. And I was having a conversation, very interesting conversation with a friend last night. I guess he wanted to know my personality type, and I've been told that my personality is somewhat difficult to read. I've been told that by a few different people. I think that's interesting. So he asked me if I had taken the MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator, and I remember taking it in undergraduate school. I mean, they usually have like all psych majors take it. So that was like many years ago. I don't remember what my type was because that was so many years ago. And we also had to do, like in my graduate studies, I had to take the MMPI, which is actually more empirically validated than the NBTI, the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And empirical validation is important. Why? Because how you're gonna come up with a label for a person, right? And this label is supposed to determine how they interact with the world. Oftentimes they use it to try to predict a person's viability in a certain type of workforce, choosing a career path, many different things. And it's just like it has to be valid. You can't just throw something on someone and say, all right, you're this. That's one thing I have against like these pseudoscience assessments. They're not really empirically validated. And so when he asked me that, I kind of cringe initially. I'm just like, okay, here we go. Someone wants to put me in a box. I feel like it's better to just get to know a person, right? Like on your own without using these different types of instruments. But they can be fun though. I'm just really not into it. But I decided to do it anyway because he was curious, right? So I took the Myers-Briggs type indicator last night. I'm going to read you guys the results. It's weird because it's just like, how true is this, right? And then on top of that, like I get people asking me, what's your zodiac sign? I'm not into astrology either. Not to say that it doesn't have some merit to it. I'm sure it does. But I just think you can't really assess a person's personality just based on one measurement, right? Like, how much can that tell you about a person? I feel like you can learn more about a person just through interacting with them on a regular basis because these tests aren't really valid. And I'm going to take it again. So I'm going to read you guys the results that came back from when I took it last night. And then we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to go and take this again. Now, granted, it was just one day in between the first time and the second time that I'm taking it, right? But I'm just going to see how reliable this measure is. I don't think it's that reliable. So, my type, they say, is INTJ. It's funny because he took a guess, right? He thought that I would fall under a different type. He thought that I would be ISFP or INFP or INFJ, which is more on the personal side as opposed to the logical side. But according to my results, I am an INTJ type. And you are ENTP? Oh, inventor. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how much weight I would give these types of measures, right? The thing about like these types of measures, right? And granted, this is a personality test, and psychologists, we do use personality tests, but this wouldn't be one of the ones that we would use, obviously, because it doesn't have much research to back it, right? Psychologists really don't like pseudoscience. I mean, it can be fun to play around with, but unless there's research to back it up. It just sounds like a bunch of baloney. It sounds like something that someone just theoretically developed and put out there. And just like those astrology readings, it's just like, that's just a person's perspective, right? That doesn't make it true and valid and consistent across time. Your personality is something that is more stable. It doesn't really change, right? They say that your personality develops like within the first 5 years of life. But it's funny though, because when I actually read the description, because he asked me, well, what do you think? Like, is it accurate? Does it resonate with you? When I read the description for what they said my personality type is, I'm like, damn, it's kind of head on. Right, it's just an indicator, right? Like, just like we use, psychologists use a lot of like screening measures, so you can't really make a diagnosis from a screening measure, right? That's just the same thing, that you can't really like typecast someone based on this, but it's just something to provide a little bit of information, maybe. So it says INTJ, A, assertive, role analyst, strategy, confident, individualism. Now, there are 5 different constructs that the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator measures. And I am going to read those and the percentages that it gave me. So, it says that I am 64% introverted. I think that's correct. 66% intuitive, 52% thinking, 57% judging, 57% assertive, which most of those sound pretty balanced. Yeah, that's another thing. They say like my so-called personality type is very rare. It's only found within like 2.5% of the population. And within women, it's only 0.8% of women have this type. So I'm just like, okay. How prevalent is your personality type, Nigel? I'm curious. So with these constructs that they're measuring, extroverted to introverted, is like on a spectrum. I got 64%. Okay, no, sorry. The constructs are mind, energy, nature, tactics, and identity. And it tells you like where you fall in the spectrum. So in terms of energy, I got 66%. Intuitive, that might be right. 52%. Thinking on the nature trait. 57% judging on the tactics trait. 57% on the identity. And then I wanted to read the descriptions, right? So, see what it says. Yeah. So when I was reading about like the career path, you did talk about being an entrepreneur, which I am. But I'm just like, I'm pretty sure other personality types make great entrepreneurs too. You said ENTP is quite rare, but not as rare as INTJ. I think they say the INTJ is like the 3rd rarest personality type. All right, so let's see what it says about INTJ. Thirst for knowledge. These personalities can be both the boldest of dreamers and the bitterest of pessimists. Architects believe, yeah, they describe me as an architect. Interesting. Believe that through willpower and intelligence they can achieve even the most challenging of goals, but they may be cynical about human nature more generally, assuming that most people are lazy, unimaginative, or simply doomed to mediocrity. I don't think that. I'm an optimist. I'm not pessimistic. Architects derive much of their self-esteem from, oh yeah, another like criticism, like even before I took this test last night for my friend, I was letting him know like, it's not valid. There's a high degree of face validity, meaning that you can tell what the test is measuring, right? And any test where a person can tell what it's measuring, there's a lot of room for confirmation bias. So I can answer my questions in a socially desirable way where I'm perceived to be perceived to be a certain kind of way, right? That is favorable to, what society thinks is good. Which I'm like, okay, am I answering in that way? So that's why I'm going to take this again, because when I did the test, I was trying to be as honest as possible. But there's a lot of room for a confirmation bias, and I was letting him know, like, I don't think this really is that valid, but let's keep reading. Architects derive much of their self-esteem from their knowledge and mental acuity. You said Bill Gates is INTJ? Oh, okay, yeah. And they also have like a list of like famous celebrities or public figures who meet your particular personality type. All right, and mental acuity. In school, people with this personality type may have been called bookworms or nerds. I definitely was that. Growing up, I always used to like lock myself in my room and read. And there's no surprise that I own a literary organization. So definitely was a nerd in school. But rather than taking these labels as insults, many architects embrace them. They are confident in their ability to teach themselves about and master any topic that interests them, whether that's coding or capoeira, however you pronounce that, or classical music. Architects can be single-minded with little patience for frivolity, distractions, or idle gossip. That said, it would be a mistake to stereotype these personalities as dull or humorless. Many architects are known for their irreverent wit, and beneath their serious exteriors, they often have a sharp, delightfully sarcastic sense of humor. I think that is true, because I do come off as a bit serious, but I'm playful too. So this is like a general introduction to my personality type. Architects question everything. Many personality types trust the status quo, relying on conventional wisdom and other people's expertise as they go about their lives. But ever skeptical architects prefer to make their own discoveries. That is absolutely true. In their quest to find better ways of doing things, they aren't afraid to break the rules or risk disapproval. In fact, they rather enjoy it. Yes. So you used to work with an INTJ, got on really well, talking about concepts and had similar sense of humor. How did you know that person was INTJ? You had them take the personality test? But as anyone with this personality type will tell you, a new idea isn't worth anything unless it actually works. Architects want to be successful, not just inventive. They bring a single-minded drive to their passion projects, applying the full force of their insight, logic, and willpower. And heaven help anyone who tries to slow them down by enforcing pointless rules or offering poorly thought-out criticism. I mean, I do think a lot. Like, I'm an introvert. I spend a lot of time like to myself. I love being with myself, and I'm always kind of like in my head a lot. I've been told that I'm a concrete thinker. I had a supervisor in LA when I was working on my PhD. Like, in the evaluation, she wrote it as a bad thing. Like, oh, she's a concrete thinker, and as if it's not conducive to being a great psychologist or a great therapist. And I'm just like, no, I feel like I make a great therapist because I'm empathic, but whatever though. And she was like, it was a problem in terms of supervision. That I agree. Yeah, it was like me being a concrete thinker. Yeah, it was problematic in supervision for many different reasons. I like to analyze things, and unless I learned like I don't mesh well with female supervisors. Men, I mesh very well with because men are rational. It has to, what you're saying has to make sense. You got to back it up what you're saying, right? So if you come to me with something and we're talking about, let's say, a client case conceptualization or interventions, best interventions or techniques that would be helpful for the client, and you're going based on your hunch, right, or your intuition, which it says I'm very intuitive, which I am. I'm very spiritual too. But it's just like you're going off a hunch and I'm asking for like you to back up what you're saying and it's still not making sense. Like that's where like I had issues. It was some serious issues, you know, in my training to become a psychologist with female supervisors. So that's interesting. But I noticed like with male supervisors, like I don't have that problem. Men like to rationalize, to be like, you know, philosophers and to be deep thinkers and see things from different perspectives. Like get out of your feelings, get out of your emotions. And my female supervisors were like really deep in their emotions and just, it was a mess. Got easily triggered and I'm just like, how y'all, I don't want to even talk about that too much, y'all, because I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, it was weird. Oh, they told you about the Myers-Briggs test. Okay. Do you mind sharing what type of work you were doing? This personality type comes with a strong independent streak. Architects don't mind acting alone, perhaps because they don't like waiting around for others to catch up with them. Yes, they also generally feel comfortable making decisions without asking for anyone else's input. That is so true. Like I just completed my pre-doc internship and I remember in the beginning, my supervisor, she commented in supervision, in my individual supervision with her, and she was like, you know, you haven't come to me. Like, I have, you know, text, email, you can call, you know, if you need consultation, you need support, but you haven't, like, reached out to me. I noticed that in the other interns, they usually, like, message me, you know, 2 or 3 times a week, but you haven't. I'm just like, I'm a different type of person. I work alone. I will message you, though. Don't get me wrong. If I need help and I'm struggling with something, then that's when I message you. But I'm not a person just to be messaging and contacting, like, if I don't need to. I work independently. And I think I do a pretty good job at it. Health and social care, working with adults with mental health issues. Oh, okay, interesting. They also generally feel comfortable making decisions without asking for anyone else's input. At times, this lone wolf behavior can come across as insensitive as it fails to take into consideration other people's thoughts, desires, and plans. That is true. I ain't even gonna front. Architects aren't known for being warm and fuzzy. They tend to prioritize rationality and success over politeness and pleasantries. In other words, they'd rather be right than popular. Oh yeah, this may explain why so many fictional villains are modeled on this personality type. Interesting. Because architects value truth and depth, many common social practices from small talk to white lies may seem pointless. Oh my gosh, that is true. I hate small talk. I'm like, get straight to the point. I think that's also why I have so much difficulty with dating, yo. I do. I have a lot of difficulty with that. Just get straight to the point. Skip the small talk. I see right through the bullshit. And yeah, it is pointless. It's a waste of time. As a result, they may inadvertently come across as rude or even offensive. That is so true. A lot of men are offended by me, but I'm just a very direct, straight shooter. When they're only trying to be honest. At times, architects may wonder if dealing with other people is even worth the frustration. Oh, yes. I'm just like, it's crazy how this is so head on. Like, before I took this test for my friend last night, I'm just like, this is pseudoscience. I don't take this. And I took it and I'm reading the description. I'm just like, well, damn. They're talking about me. But I wonder, though, because human beings, we share many common characteristics. So my question is, okay, maybe this is just like a catch-all phrase that they're using, these descriptor words and phrases. Like, it's just a catch-all. Anyone could fall into this, right? I don't know. But like any personality type, architects do crave social interaction. They just prefer to surround themselves with people who share their values and priorities. That's a fact. Often they can achieve, and like, I tend to attract high achieving people. I like to be around high achievers because That's what I can relate to. And I feel like there's no room for jealousy when you're around people who kind of share like similar characteristics and are in the same tax bracket, and you know, like there's no room for, oh, they're looking at you a certain kind of way because, oh, they think, oh, you better. It's just like, what? I don't know. Often they can achieve this just by being themselves. Yes, many architects pursue their interests. Their natural confidence can draw people to themselves professionally, socially, and even romantically. Like, I'm going to take this test again. I'm going to continue reading like these descriptions. So they have it broken down. This is the introduction I'm still reading. Then the next part is going to be talking about my strengths and weaknesses that are linked to this personality type. Romantic relationships, friendships, parenthood, career paths, the workplace habits, and then there's a conclusion. All right, it says, for architects, life is like a giant game of chess, relying on strategy rather than chance. They contemplate the strengths and weaknesses of each move before they make it. I'm an overthinker, even when it comes to buying the simplest thing. You guys saw I did a video on like shopping at Walmart for the first time because they don't have Walmarts in New York, and I'm like, I'm very critical with my purchase and like my choice and how I choose products from the shelf is crazy, but it can be draining too. It's like, does it really require all of that? They never lose faith that with enough ingenuity and insight, they can find a way to win, no matter what challenges might arise along the way. All right. I'm going to kind of skim some of this because this is a lot. He, Intj, employed me as I am fully qualified barista achiever. Yeah? You say who? You say he employed you. Strengths and weaknesses. Okay, my strengths are rational. Go figure. Informed. Few personality types are as devoted as architects to forming rational, evidence-based opinions rather than hunches or half-baked assumptions. They base their conclusions on research and analysis. Right. Yo, this is like, I got in trouble, like, my supervision, with the same supervisor I was telling you guys about, female supervisor, like in group. I don't know. For me, I was just like, okay, what's the purpose of us going through a doctoral program that is rooted in research, right? But when we get ready to practice, like, we don't bring in research. Now, my supervisor, I get it. She was a PsyD, which PsyDs, they're heavy on clinical emphasis, right? Versus PhDs were like heavy research. Like, come on, come on, we got to have some empirically validated research to support these interventions that we are bringing about. And so I presented my clinical case in the group, and we were going around and all the different, we had like three or four psychologists, supervisors there, right, in our group, and then it was me and a few other interns, and they were giving their perspective on like what's the best intervention. But it felt like they were just going based on hunch. I'm like, okay, what is that linked to? Like, what is the backing? What is the basis for what you're saying? It just didn't make sense. I don't know. It's my thing. But I got in trouble for that, just for questioning. I'm like, all right. UK equals barista, US equals attorney. Okay. He was the deputy manager. Is this a different position you're talking about, Nigel? Independent. For these personality types, conformity is more or less synonymous with mediocrity. That is so true. Definitely not a conformist. Creative and self-motivated. Architects strive to do things their own way. They can imagine few things more frustrating than allowing rules or conventions to stand in the way of their success. Determined, yes. Curious, versatile. Now, the weakness is arrogant. Oh, I agree. I'm definitely arrogant. I think I get that from my dad, though. Architects might be knowledgeable, but they are not infallible. Their self-assurance can blind them to useful input from other people, especially anyone they deem to be intellectually inferior. These personalities can also become needlessly harsh or single-minded in trying to prove others wrong. Dismissive of emotions. I think it's just the way our brain works, right? It's not to say I'm not an empath. I am. Because when people cry, okay, some people cry. I cry. And depending on how much I can identify with the person, that depends on my level of empathy towards that person. So it's not that I'm not empathic. I think it's deeper than that. It's just how relatable we are to the person who who is needing our empathy, right? Like, I get certain people, but other people, I'm just like, I don't relate to them. It may sound very weird. A lot of people I can understand. A lot of people are very relatable and understandable, like in terms of the mind of that person, right? Like sociopaths. I get sociopaths. It may sound crazy. I'm not a sociopath though, but I get them. I'm empathic towards sociopaths and terrorists. That's weird, yo. But I get the mind of a terrorist. I even made a video on this a couple years ago when I was in LA. I definitely get the mind of a terrorist, and I'm empathic towards them. I'm empathic towards many different people. But let's move on, because I don't want people to like misinterpret this. Okay. Overly critical, combative. Oh yeah, romantically clueless. Architects relentlessly. Architects' relentless rationality can lead them to be frustrated by romance. But that's anyone though. Especially in the early stages of a relationship, they may struggle to understand what's going on and how to behave. And if their relationships fall apart for reasons they don't understand, they can become cynical about matters of the heart, even questioning the importance of love and connections. And the next section is romantic relationships. No, I chose to move from a successful career in law to health and social care. Interesting, because it's probably more rewarding. Like law, I just read your comment, Nigel. Law, I think, like, can be very, just like politics. It's grimy, you know. While it's very lucrative, and it's probably more lucrative than health and social care. It's kind of grimy, and it kind of requires you to have very thick skin, thicker than what will probably be required in working in social care. But I think your experience in law was a good primer for working in social care. All right, romantic relationships. People with the architect Intj personality type approach romance the way they do most challenges, strategically with clear-cut goals and a plan for reaching them. Absolutely, in a purely rational world, this approach would be foolproof. But everything is not cut and dry. So it's a matter of just navigating it and just like letting your hair down. You say it's boring after a while? Yeah. Very procedural and mundane, I would imagine. The rights of dating. Architects care about depth and intelligence, and they insist on honest, open communication. For them, a relationship that isn't founded on these values is hardly worth pursuing. It might not come as a surprise that the social niceties and obscure etiquette of dating can seem useless or even insulting to architect personality types. I don't think so. Motion sickness. Okay, this is where I disagree also. You say not like on TV or film. Also probably depends where you were practicing or where you were working. What city were you working in the field of law? What city and state? Because certain places might be a little bit more interesting than others. Emotion sickness. Archetype personalities aren't known for conventional shows of romance. I'm like, that's lies. Such as sending flowers or writing mushy notes. Okay, I like physical, like, affection. I like to show physical affection, but in terms of like sending gifts, yeah, I'm not much of a gift giver or writing like notes. No, not my form of showing romance, but there are other ways. Most architects spend more time thinking about love than expressing it. I felt like that was like some shade right there. The way they wrote that. Because that is so true, but it's still shade. But when they believe that a relationship has potential, architects can give it their all, working to maintain stability and ensure their partner's long-term satisfaction. And by using their imagination, people with this personality type can find meaningful, if unexpected, ways to share their affection. I guess friendships. Antisocial. I can answer that. I already know that. No, listen, my friendships are like usually long-standing and substantial. Like, I don't just easily make friends with people. I'm very, like, I know how to connect with people. That comes natural. But in terms of who I let in my inner circle, I'm very meticulous about that. Human rights and mental health, legal career, but 99% of the office not speaking in court, which I like. Okay. But what city though? What city were you working? Where are you from? Okay. Sharp-witted and darkly funny. Architects aren't everyone's cup of tea, and they are okay with that. Absolutely. For the most part, people with this personality type aren't obsessed with being popular. They don't spend their time and energy on just anyone, and they can be difficult to get to know. Absolutely. But this doesn't mean that architects are antisocial or friendless. In fact, few things are more exhilarating to architect personalities than the spark they feel when they connect with someone who really gets them. Oh, yes, 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 yes. You're in London? In the UK? All right. Yeah, I don't know anything about how exciting law would be over there, but I would only imagine, like, working in law in New York can be very interesting. Places like New York City, maybe LA. Just speaking from my own personal experience, because there's a lot of overlap between psychology, mental health, and the law. And we work with people from many different professions. And I, of course, have worked within the prison system when I was out in LA. The search for an equal. Architects tend to have strong opinions about what works, what doesn't, what they're looking for, and what they are not. This mindset gives them a clear picture of what they expect from their social lives and their friends, and it can also lead them to reject anyone who doesn't seem to meet these expectations. From the outside, people with this personality type may seem dismissive, but they would say they're just being decisive. That is so true. Yeah, I keep emphasizing, like, I'm a thinker. You have to really get into my head to connect with me. And it has to be on topics of interest to me, being a sapiosexual. But some people don't get it. That's why I don't, like, connect with a lot of men, because the way that they're in, right, how they, like, connect with a lot of women is much different. So they try to take that same approach with me, and it just doesn't work. Now, I can take a compliment, right? But it's like that's their go-to. Oh, you're beautiful. Oh, you're this. Like, they are focused on, like, external things. And I'm just like, can we talk about things that are of interest? Like, what's happening in our world, in our society? Let's talk about our perspective on that, or the future, or something of relevance, right? The way I look, I feel like it's not relevant. It's like, how is that moving our relationship forward by talking about what I look like? I mean, we could talk about that, but to me, that just seems very shallow. So yeah, I shut down the conversation immediately with a lot of guys, and they're offended, but it's, it just has to be like a guy who gets me, and when he get me, it's just like, cheers, cheers. You're from Liverpool, worked as a barista in London, UK. How many years did you work as a barista? I know I'm not pronouncing it right. Well, that's probably how you wouldn't pronounce it, especially with your UK accent, which I am terrible at, by the way. Where was I? All right. In friendship, architects are looking for an intellectual equal as much as anything. Oh, yes. That's what turns me on. And you know what? I thought that was more linked to my interest in BDSM, which could be, right? But perhaps it's linked to also my personality type, where I like an intellectual. That shit turns me on. I like a dominant man. So that feeds into like that compatibility interest, right? For him to be an intellectual, for him to be dominant, he has to be an intellectual. Because you have to dominate psychologically before you can dominate any other sphere of a person's life or in a relationship. You have to dominate in an intellectual sense. It all starts in the mind, and everything else follows. So a lot of guys just don't have it in that department. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel I am smarter than a lot of men. And we're not just talking about college educated or higher education smarts, okay? I'm just talking about regular smart. 20 years? All right. I'm trying to look at your profile to see if you're male or female, but it's hard to tell. I would guess that you're female, though. But correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I would think that you're female. But you know what? A lot of guys follow me too, though. I think most of my followers, especially people who interact with me on my live, they're men. You're male. I should have known. I was going to say male, but I was trying to give women benefit of the doubt, because women can be smart too, and have high-paying careers. So I just wanted to give, the female energy some credit, but you're male. Go figure. Why don't women interact with me online? They used to. I don't know why they don't interact with me. I guess I just don't relate to women. That's probably going back to my personality type. Well, women don't relate to me, I don't know. I don't really have female friends. I could, but I don't know, I get bored. Because the things they talk about is not what I'm into. And a lot of women like to gossip about other people. It's just not my thing. I can tolerate like a few minutes hearing a woman talk about another woman. And then I just tune out. Just like, my brain just shuts off. Like, even being around my own family, I was over visiting my mom and my aunt, her sister, and they're like talking about this person and that. And it's like, I can't feed into this conversation. I can't even contribute because, so I just kind of pulled out the conversation. I'm like on my phone, like I unplugged because it's just not my thing. It's not my interest. But had they shifted gears and talked about something else, ideas, right? Or just, I don't know, politics, anything, but talking about people, not my thing. In friendship, architects are looking for an intellectual equal as much as anything else. These personalities crave mental stimulation. Yes, it just does. It turns me on, honestly. Yo, men who got this down pat, right? Who got the whole intellectualism down pat. Like, yo, they know that that shapes like a woman's physiology. Like, you can make a woman like wet, yo. Literally. It has worked. I've seen it. Just like, God damn, that is some domination right there. To just like turn a woman on with your words, yo. I was just like, you don't even have to touch her, right? You don't even have to be in the same vicinity as her. You don't even have to be in the same room. It can just be a long distance. It can be even just through text. Now that's very sophisticated right there. Just being able to like turn a woman on and she read your text and just like, damn. All right. These personalities crave mental stimulation and they can become bored by anyone who can't keep up with the workings of their minds. Architects need to share their expansive ideas. Making small talk is something they typically avoid. Yeah. A unique friendship. It's not always easy to befriend an architect. People with this personality type have little patience for social rules. Instead, they look for friends who value intellect, honesty, and self-improvement. They may become bored or irritated by anyone who falls short of this mark. Fortunately, anyone who does share these qualities is likely to appreciate architects as well. Yeah. So, as I was sharing, like, my personality type with the guy who kind of inspired me to do this test and obviously create the video, he was talking about shadow work and like basically what I am. There's a flip side to it, right? These are qualities that I lack or can improve upon, and he was saying that basically our personality types kind of complement each other. So let me see if I remember correctly. He said his personality type was ESFP. And I'm like, interesting. And so what he has is saying that I lack, and that's like where I can do my shadow work. But I'm reading the characteristics. I'm like, that's me. I identify with that. Being a nurturer, I guess I can be. Being like humorous and just having fun, being playful to a certain extent. All right, among friends whom they know and respect, architects have no trouble relaxing and being themselves. Their sarcasm and witty banter may not be for everyone, especially people who struggle to read between the lines, but architects reward their true friends with candor and insight along with an endless supply of fascinating stories and ideas and conversations. Oh, it makes it sound great, but I know there's another way that this can be written. This description of this personality type can be rewritten to really dog us out, right? Because when you think about it, they dress it up, make it sound good. But if we only make up 2% of the population, how likable are we? We're not the majority, right? So just, I don't know, think about that. I don't really know if I buy into this though. I'm going to take this personality test again here. Let's see what it says about parenthood. Architects are known for their rationality and self-control, and they may be bemused by anyone who doesn't share these strengths. For example, children. Parenting may not, and by the way, I do not have kids. Parenting may not come easily to these personalities, requiring them to master new skills. I think I would make a great parent because I think I'm pretty good at shaping behavior, right? And I think when you start early on, like you can mold behavior to whatever desired outcome that you want. So I think I would be pretty good at that. I've already have experience with children. I've been babysitting since I was younger. I don't babysit now, but like my first job was babysitting my nieces and nephews. Says parenting may not come easily to these personalities, requiring them to master new skills and increase their cognitive flexibility. Fortunately, architects are pretty much always up for a challenge, and for architects who choose to have children, few challenges may be as meaningful as parenthood. Architects want their children to grow up to be capable and self-reliant. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that children, like, you don't really have to guide children as much, like, or discipline. Just let them be. I'm a firm believer in that approach. And that's going to be the approach that I take in my child rearing when I have kids. With clear interests and strong critical thinking skills, rather than enforce pointless rules, they look for age-appropriate ways to foster their child's independence. Yes, I believe that. That's not to say that parents with this personality type are lenient. Far from it. They expect their children to use their freedom responsibly. Yeah. They say that architects aren't especially comfortable with displays of affection. No, that is not true. Absolutely not true. I am very comfortable. Oh, guess who went live? This is going live while I'm going live. Yo, it makes me want to tune into his live. Should we have an intermission break? Yo, you already know who I'm talking about. Got me stopping my live because he is live. This is funny.
We'll be in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands this Saturday, day after tomorrow.
Yo, he's always promoting. I don't like when he's like, I mean, I know that's his work. I get it, but anyway. All right. Let's keep reading. So, yeah, I like displays of affection. I remember when I had my niece and nephew, yo. My niece and nephew at one point, they were all in elementary school. And I kept them for an entire summer in Atlanta, Georgia. But I love children. I love to hug them, cuddle them, kiss them. So, that is not true. I think they're talking about the male version of this personality type, not the female version. Career paths. So it did talk about like how this personality type, the INTJ architect personality type, it would be more likely inclined to pursue like entrepreneurship types of careers. So let's read. Professional know-how is often where architects shine most brilliantly, but these personalities won't settle for just any career. They want to tackle meaningful challenges and find elegant solutions to important problems, not just tinker with figures in a spreadsheet. Absolutely. Architects also want the freedom to exercise their greatest strengths. Few personality types, if any, can master their ability to transform complex principles into clear and actionable strategies. Architects know how much they have to offer in their professional lives, and for them, any job that fails to draw on their skills and knowledge is a wasted opportunity. I feel like that goes without saying. That's for anyone. That can apply to anyone. Who the hell is going to work a job that you don't like, that you're not benefiting from financially, emotionally? You know, architect personalities can cut through the noise and figure out the true cause of a problem and then fix it. Their competence gives them an advantage as long as they don't alienate their co-workers. Architects can advance in their careers and gain the independence they need to see their ideas through. All right, finding their place. This is talking about in the workplace. Some personality types are drawn to jobs that require nonstop teamwork and interaction, but architects tend to prefer lone wolf positions. Absolutely. By working alone or in small groups, they can make the most of their creativity without constant interruptions and the most of your time too. But it's good to be understood, right? Because it's like, even at my most recent pre-doc internship that I completed, now with COVID, we had alternating days we would go into the office, right? So I had my day to do psych evals, which was on Thursdays, and with that, they had like administrative staff there, the directors there, some people were there, so I did cross paths with some. And it's not that I don't interact with people, I do. But I kind of keep my interactions short, and I'll listen. Like, I'm a very good listener. But it's like I don't have much to say, and I'm not really good at to fake a conversation just for the sake of having one, you know? So I've never really been that type of person like that. You know, I just like to I'm there for a particular reason, just go there and get the job done. So that's what I do, but I get it. Some people just like to have like, you know, just to talk, like the workplace gossip. I never really was involved in that, right? I don't do workplace gossip. I will engage in conversation though, like if it's relevant to something that is beneficial to me, then yeah, I'll engage. Architects really do believe that if you want something done right, you better do it yourself. Yeah. That's the thing, like, I've of course had to do group projects throughout school, throughout my training, on the job training as well, and I've always been the leader. It comes naturally, right? Like I delegate tasks. It just comes naturally. You gotta step up because I'm very assertive. I like to just get the job done, right? Anybody else can relate. I know I'm not the only one out there. The other side of that coin is that architects have little respect for anyone who gets ahead based on networking or nepotism rather than merit. Honestly, I can give a damn because I know what my value is, and for me it's not so much me trying to advance up some ladder within an organization or company. Like, I'm gonna be working for myself. Only reason why I had to be working for an agency, I've worked for like psych hospital, prison, and clinics, is because that's part of my training, you know, because I'm not licensed yet. But once I get licensed, I'm gonna be on my own. That's just how the cookie is gonna crumble. But this is interesting to see how they formulate these perceptions of different personality types. Workplace habits. But some personality types may find it a challenge to work with architects. Architects may be harsh or dismissive toward people they don't respect. And unfortunately, losing their respect can be all too easy. In particular, they have little time for coworkers who prioritize convenience or over innovation or socializing over success. Yeah. That's not to say that architects can't work with others. In fact, they may achieve some of their greatest successes this way. Their capability can make them excellent collaborators. People with this personality type may never enjoy pairing up with coworkers who get hung up on the wrong details or can't otherwise earn their respect. But in the company of a small group of trusted colleagues, architects' brainstorming sessions may become even more electric. Oh, I like this. Okay, so generally speaking, architects prefer to treat those who work for them as equals rather than micromanaging. Yeah, I love that. Even when I hosted events through my literary organization, Ubawa, like we all on the same playing field. That's how I treated them. Even though I was the organizer of the event, I'm the one that brought together nearly 100 authors and publishers from across the nation to one location. And then we held it in Atlanta the first time, the second time was in New York, and the third one was in Los Angeles. Like, we were all equal, you know. I treat people how I want to be treated. And I feel like if I hire a specific person for a particular task, like, they got that, they can handle it. I don't need to really guide them or like micromanage them. I mean, I can like tell them, okay, this is how I want this set up, but add your own flavor to it, you know. I feel like people work better that way. Just allow them to be themselves. So these managers respect and reward proactive behavior, delegating responsibilities to employees with the strongest critical thinking skills. But I really enjoy like doing interviews for those events that I hosted. it was fun because you just get to meet different people and you get to choose. But it's not even hard to choose like who is fit for the position, because there's always that one person that just stands out. It's just like, oh yeah, you the one, you the one. I'm gonna get in the pool today, you guys. Hopefully it does not rain. I did go to the beach yesterday. I'm like, hold up, what are they talking about? What are they saying about you, girl? What you have read so far is just an introduction. We have a great deal more to tell you, blah, blah, blah. So that was the end. That's the conclusion. Now, I am about to retake this thing right here, live. So, let's begin. The first question says, you regularly make new friends. I have to say disagree. There's like a spectrum, so it's like on a Likert scale from agree to disagree. You spend a lot of your free time exploring various random topics that pique your interest. I would have to say agree with that. Seeing other people cry can easily make you feel like you want to cry too. Agree. Yes, 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 yes. Now, I'm taking this test again. So, when I finish this, we're going to see what is the consistency of the output. But it's funny because like these questions that are factored, these items here, right, that we are answering, you can kind of tell with the naked eye. You can kind of do like a naked eye factorial analysis to see what they are measuring. I mean, I know I can. Having dealt with many psychometric tests, like you can tell what a test measures, even though it proclaims to not have high face validity or whatever, and you can still tell. You often make a backup plan for a backup plan. What? I don't think so. Disagree. You usually stay calm even under a lot of pressure. Absolutely. I mean, I have to. Working in mental health, clients can't be losing their cool and I'm sitting up here losing my cool. Like, no, you lose your cool and I get calmer. At social events, you rarely try to introduce yourself to new people and mostly talk to the ones you already know. I would have to agree with that. Honestly. You prefer to completely finish one project before starting another. Disagree. You are very sentimental. I feel neutral on that one. You like to use organizing tools like schedules and lists. Absolutely. I love calendars and love making lists. Even a small mistake can cause you to doubt your overall abilities and knowledge. I'll say neutral on that one. You feel comfortable just walking up to someone you find interesting and striking up a conversation. I think it really depends. So I'm going to say agree, but it's closer to neutral. You are not too interested in discussing various interpretation and analyses of creative works. Nah, disagree. I love going to museums and analyzing the art. You are more inclined to follow your head than your heart. Agree. You usually prefer just doing what you feel like at any given moment instead of planning a particular daily routine. That's a trick question, because I feel like I don't really plan. You're right. Yeah, that's right. I'm kind of more spontaneous. Just kind of go with the flow. You rarely worry about whether you make a good impression on people you meet. Agree. You enjoy participating in group activities. Disagree. You like books and movies that make you come up with your own interpretation of the ending. Nah. Neutral. Your happiness comes more from helping others accomplish things than your own accomplishments. I disagree. Yeah, I'm very self-centered, but no, I like to help people. I like to give back. They just got to be worth putting my time and energy to, right? Like, I have this thing, and this is just me. Every psychologist is different. But I've always said to myself, this is just my rule of thumb. I would not work harder than the client. But it depends though, right? Because there are different clinical presentations, right? And there are different developmental levels of functioning, right? So can I expect a client who is, let's say, lower functioning or who has a developmental disability can I hold them to that same standard as I will hold a person who is much higher functioning? So I guess it depends, right? But it's just hard to invest so much of my energy when I see like a person is just nonchalant. Like, all right, well, you're not invested. Why should I be? All right, next one. You are interested in so many things that you find it difficult to choose what to try next. Nah, never hard for me to find things that I'm interested in. You are prone to worrying that things will take a turn for the worse. Nah, I don't be worrying too much. For what? You avoid leadership roles in group settings. I totally disagree with that because I love to take on leadership roles. Because I feel like me taking that leadership role on is going to get the job done. I cannot trust other people because they're just sitting around just like, like, no, let's get some order and organization here, okay? You are definitely not an artistic type of person. Disagree. I'm artistic. You think the world would be a better place if people relied more on rationality and less on their feelings. Agree. You prefer to do your chores before allowing yourself to relax. Oh, absolutely. You enjoy watching people argue? Not really. You tend to avoid drawing attention to yourself? Absolutely. Your mood can change very quickly? Not really. You lose patience with people who are not as efficient as you. Yes. You often end up, but who doesn't though? That's what I'm saying. Like, this applies to, like, what did most people lose patience? You often end up doing things at the last possible moment. Agree. You have always been fascinated by the question of what, if anything, happens after that death. Absolutely. You usually prefer to be around others rather than on your own. No. You become bored or lose interest when the discussion gets highly theoretical. No. I love it when it gets theoretical. You find it easy to empathize with the person. That's how I be having like long ass conversations on the phone. Like, I'm talking about 3-4 hour long conversations, yo. Because it's just, I always like to know how and why, and that just kind of spirals down a deep hole, never-ending conversation. You find it easy to empathize with a person whose experiences are very different from yours. Yeah, I don't think I would be in this field if I lack empathy. You usually postpone finalizing decisions for as long as possible. Not really. You rarely second guess the choices that you have made. I don't think I second guess. After a long and exhausting week, a lively social event is just what you need. Hell yeah! I mean, any kind of distraction, I think. Even though, yeah, I enjoy being alone, but when you work in a high stress field, such as mental health, hell yeah, that would be freaking very relaxing to go to like a social event. Music, take your mind off of it, move your body. You enjoy going to art museums? Absolutely. You often have a hard time understanding other people's feelings. Disagree. You like to have a to-do list for each day? Hell no. You rarely feel insecure. Neutral. You avoid making phone calls. Agreed. You often spend a lot of time trying to understand views that are very different from your own. Neutral. In your social circle, you are often the one who contacts your friends, initiates activities. Absolutely not. If your plans are interrupted, your top priority is to get back on track as soon as possible. Yes. You are still bothered by mistakes that you made a long time ago. Hell no. The past is the past. You rarely contemplate the reasons for human existence or the meaning of life. Disagree. Your emotions control you more than you control them. Disagree. You take great care not to make people look bad even when it is completely their fault. I would probably have to agree with that. We're at 80%, almost done. Your personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy than organized and consistent efforts. I would have to slightly agree with that. When someone thinks highly of you, you wonder how long it would take them to feel disappointed in you. Absolutely agree. You would love a job that requires you to work alone most of the time. Absolutely agree. You believe that pondering abstract philosophical questions is a waste of time. Disagree. You feel more drawn to places with busy, bustling atmosphere than quiet, intimate places. Obviously, I live in New York City, so we'll have to agree with that. You know at first glance how someone is feeling. Absolutely agree. You often feel overwhelmed. Agree, sometimes. You complete things methodically without skipping over any steps. Oh yeah, that's me. Sometimes I'm OCD with shit. You are very intrigued by things labeled as controversial. Yep, probably why I like Dr. Umar Johnson so much. You would pass along a good opportunity if you thought someone else needed it more. Hell fuck no, I thought this question was interesting. Who the fuck will pass along a good opportunity to someone else if you thought they needed it more? No, that shit is going to me. Are you kidding me? I'm very competitive though. You struggle with deadlines. Disagree. You feel confident that things will work out for you. Absolutely. Because they have always worked out for me. Oh, your body. Now let's see if there is some consistency. Is it really taking that long? It says waiting. It looks like it's about to say architect. Look. It's still loading. But it looks like it's going to give me the same exact personality type. I don't know. Taking it now. I can wait and take it a year from now and see if it comes out the same. Why does it take so long, yo? I am connected. Interesting. I think it's just going to give me the same one. I'm not surprised. I did just take it yesterday. So maybe my responses are the same. But either way, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Like, how valid is this? Have you guys taken it? And if you have, what was your personality type? I mean, from reading the description, like, as you guys saw, it seemed pretty head on. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I actually might go live later. I think I'm going to go to the pool. I'm going to grab me some lunch. And I might grab me some wine. And I might take you guys to me at the pool. I actually might do a mukbang, yo. I got some Dungeness crabs. So I might come back with the mukbang. So tune in. Catch you guys later.